Hello and welcome to the Drama Therapy in Prisons interviews, the series where we feature ongoing research on the topic of performance and creative expression and their effects on developing resilience, questioning gender norms, giving voice to intersectional identities, and innovative forms of rehabilitation in carceral settings. I'm Kamal Nafari, Associate Professor of Communication Studies at Cal State LA.
I'm Marianne Shine. I am a drama therapist in private practice in Northern California outside of San Francisco. I spent the last 9 years with the Marin Shakespeare Company teaching and directing Shakespeare at San Quentin Prison. And I'm also on the board of the Curtain Theater, which provides free Shakespeare in the Park in Mill Valley every summer.
I'm Baker Nauman. I'm an adjunct professor for Folsom Lake College, currently at Mule Creek Prison, teaching social work, human services. I'm a marriage and family therapist and drama therapist, so I have a private practice with that as well.
I'm Elizabeth Malone, registered drama therapist with some experience working inside prisons and juvenile halls, as well as working with youth who are new to the country from different countries. And I am currently also getting my master's in social work. And we are excited to dive into today's conversation with our guest, Samuel Nathaniel Brown. So thanks for tuning in. Tell you a little bit about our guest today. Our guest today is Samuel Nathaniel Brown, a dedicated colleague and formerly incarcerated individual who has shown remarkable commitment to challenging the inhumanity of the current prison system. Sam advocates for the replacement of the existing system with innovative approaches to rehabilitation and successful reintegration into society. His journey spans 24 years behind bars, during which he modeled successful reentry as an advocate for the rights of the incarcerated, a testament to his unwavering determination and the essential support networks required for human rights advocacy.
While incarcerated, Sam initiated the 10P program, which stands for Prisoners Parole Portfolio as Positive Programming and Prior Preparation that Prevents Poor Performance. This program aims to guide inmates in transitioning from antisocial to pro-social mindsets, focusing on personal growth and transformation.
Samuel is also a passionate advocate for the California Abolition Act, ACA 3, a constitutional amendment proposal he co-authored aimed at ending prisoner slavery, promoting rehabilitation, and halting the exploitation of forced labor. Its goal is to ensure that individuals leaving prison can transition into contributing members of society.
In 2014, Sam introduced the theory of emotional illiteracy-based criminality, linking adverse childhood experiences to criminal behaviors as coping mechanisms. His journey reached a significant milestone when a few months before his release, he became one of the first to graduate with a bachelor's degree in communication studies through Cal State LA's Prison BA graduation initiative. Welcome, Sam.
Oh my God, peace, y'all. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you all.
Thank you. I'm going to start with the first question about if you could provide a brief overview of your experiences as a creative artist and producer of therapeutic programs in prison settings.
Wow, great question. So my name is Samuel Nathaniel Brown, everyone, and I served 24 years in prison. I was sentenced to life, at the age of 19 years old. I didn't get out until 2021, went in 1997. And when I went in, I did not think I needed rehabilitation. Actually, I didn't even know what that looked like. There was never anyone flagging you down saying, this is what rehabilitation looks like, it's over here. So initially, I was offered the opportunity to become even more rooted in my emotional illiteracy. I was given a knife, I was given alcohol, I was given marijuana, and I was told, keep your eyes open, keep your head low. If it's a race ride, get in it. Other than that, be cool. So that's what I was told when I came into the prison. But then I had other guys who offered me weed, a knife, and a book, and they were like, get some knowledge of self. So that was always there too. And going into the system, Dr. Afari, I knew that I was better than my circumstances. You know, I knew I was better than the decisions that I had made. There was this innate thing in me. I wasn't ready to grasp it yet, but it was inside of me, and it was always there. So over the years, even while I was still wrestling with, you know, regaining my identity, or probably gaining it for the first time in my life, I still always knew that I was better than what I had been doing and what was before me, and that I could change that circumstance. And eventually what I realized was, in order to change it for myself, I had to help others do the same.
Great. Thank you so much. So yeah, so what inspired you and your interest in engaging with this particular form of aesthetic and performance work?
Oh man, well, I love rap, right?
Yeah.
I started rapping when I was 7 years old. Shout out to my big sister, you know, my uncle Alfred, rest in peace, my big brother. They used to rap. And me observing all of them coming up in New Orleans. Then I'm from New Orleans originally. So, you know, it's a lot of jazz and Mardi Gras and public showings of people coming out and dancing and doing things. And this is what I grew up around. And a lot of Black culture where it was celebrated, a lot of African culture infused, you know, Haitian and Cuban and French and all of this stuff just infused in the spirit. And so I grew up with this, and I grew up in church. I played the drums in church. I had to sing in the choir. My mom made me get up and, you know, speak before the church. So I was kind of bred for public speaking, whether I realized it or not. And what I realized about my music over the years, especially while I was incarcerated, it became like an outlet for me. It became therapeutic for me when I was in solitary confinement. When I first went to the prison as a teenager or in my early 20s, and they put me in a cell by myself, and all I have is the ability to beat on my window or beat on my doors and sing to myself and talk to myself and rap to myself. If I wanted to whip your ass, I would rap about it. Hey, I want to whip your ass. And that stopped me from whipping your ass. You know what I mean? To an extent at that time. But it was like an outlet for me. And then when many other men or even women, because I was take all of the water out the toilet, I was singing through the toilet from one floor to the next floor. People just wanted to hear music. They just wanted to hear raps. They just wanted to hear something different. So I began to realize the power of it, not only for myself, but for others as well. And then as it continued to evolve, I started to get a better understanding that the more I was able to put my own trials and tribulations into my art, the more it became medication for me, but also it gave other people an opportunity to see that they weren't alone, and it became medication for them as well. So that kind of reinforced me putting energy and belief into this form of therapy and this work, because I saw it and I felt it, and it sustained me when I needed it most.
Thank you. Lynn, would you like to ask the next
I
question?
love your analogy of using that as medication for the healing. And I saw your monologue, it was so moving. And I'm curious because because you used that same musicality and the rhythm in it, and it was really just it was so polished too, which I really appreciate that it led the audience, you know, on a little journey. So I'm curious, what was the prompt for that, as far as how you got to that place of sharing it and the story behind it?
Wow, that's a great question. No one's ever asked me that. So I was in Lancaster and I was conducting a research, like I was doing like a longitudinal study on guys who would allow me to interview them. And because I was writing the curriculum for the 10P program, it's rooted in emotional literacy. What I had begun to learn about myself a long time ago is that I wasn't born bad. I wasn't born evil, or any of those things. I made bad decisions. I made what could be considered evil decisions. And it's the same for everyone else. You know, no one's born a vice lord or a gangster disciple or a blood, crip, prostitute, trick, pimp. No one's born any of those things, a drug addict. I mean, you got people who are, you know, addicted to drugs because their parents are on drugs and stuff when they're born. That's unfortunate. But for the most part, no one is born any of these things that we adopt to survive our environments. And upon realizing that, as I begun like traversing the prison yards and talking to individuals and trying to help them understand that you're not bad as people make you to seem, I began asking people, have you ever heard of emotional literacy? And they're like, no. So then when I would talk to them about it, I'm like, well, this is what it is. And do you think if somebody would have talked to you about this in your youth, that you would still be in prison? And like 99% of everybody I talked to, from Blacks, Hispanics, whites, everybody said no. Had they known about emotional literacy and had the opportunity, to express their feelings, they wouldn't have adopted criminality as a coping mechanism. And so this is something that I knew in my heart, and I knew that this was the core of what rehabilitation is. And so I learned I'm able to reach more people through my poetry than my rap music. I learned that in New Folsom. So I basically encapsulated all that I had been through, what I learned about how I became a criminal, why I adopted criminality, why all of the other people I knew adopted criminality. People have been molested, called stupid in their house, made to feel like they were less than, and they could identify with the people outside the house who didn't call them stupid or make them feel like less than, and stuff like that. That led that I started running from the police because of the police criminal behavior, not because I was a criminal. The police were trying to make me be an informant. And I was like, I don't want to be your informant. And he was like, I'm gonna force you. So they tried to force me. From that point forward, I started running from the police. That's how I started running from the cops, because they were criminals. But those are the stories that people don't know. And then you'll find somebody like me serving life in the prison, but I started running from the police because they were criminals. It's a million stories like mine. You know what I mean? And so I felt compelled, because I'm able to speak and articulate myself well, and I serve as a bridge between, I can code switch. I felt it was imperative and incumbent upon me to encapsulate it in a poem and deliver it to where it could be felt.
Beautiful answer. I'm curious about your journey from being lost to becoming a poet. Usually artists are influenced or admire other artists. Are there particular poets or performing artists that you admire that help influence your work?
Well, I got to start with my big sister, Vajona Marie Brown, first and foremost. And then after my big sister, I love, like, man, Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes. I read a lot, bro. I read Pickles, I read Sesame Street, I read Dr. Seuss. Because coming home in New Orleans, as a single parent, my mom, she was spread pretty thin. And so I was the middle child, and when I was a loner a lot. And one of the things my mom did that I thought was so fascinating was she allowed me to order these books. And so I would be at the house, unable to get in because I didn't have a key to my house at the time until I got one. I became a latchkey kid for a small period of time. But these books would show up in the mailbox, and I would sit on the steps and read these books until someone got home, right? And like Pickles, the Pickles series became my favorite. And then I started reading all the Time Life series. So to answer your question, I became more in love with words than anything. I really, really love words, because my 8th grade teacher, Miss Stackhouse, she said, words make man free, for whomsoever cannot express himself as a slave. And I believe it might've been Shakespeare, but she said it to us all the time. Anytime we had to do our homework, her 2 sayings, because we had to read our homework in front of the class. And she would say, okay, the whole world is a stage. Let us see how well you do your part. And we all shy, standing there and scared. And she said, the whole world is a stage. And then she said, any man who cannot express himself is a slave. So for me, I was just in love with words and the ability to be able to express myself in any form, whether it be rap, whether it be written, whether it be poetry. And I was fascinated by anyone that I seen do it.
Beautiful. And I also noticed that you have an ability to memorize very long passages. Do you have any tricks or tips that you can share?
I'm a Pisces, baby. No, so you know what? Yeah, rote memorization. I say it to myself over and over and over. That's part of it. The main part of it, though, is it comes from my heart. So it's easy for me to remember because it comes from my heart. However, because I say it over and over, most of the times I make this stuff up before I write it down, right? Other times I write it, and by the time I'm done writing, I memorize it. So it goes both ways. So the way I make it up before I write it down, I might say, tonight is a night and I'm hoping that it's starry. All right, when I go home, I'm gonna play Atari. Tonight is a night that I'm hoping that it's starry. When I go home, I'm gonna play Atari. Then I'm gonna pick up my phone. I'm gonna call Dr. Afari. Okay, tonight is the night and it's looking kind of starry. When I go home, I'm gonna play my Atari. Then I'm gonna pick up the phone. I'm gonna call Dr. Afari, and then we're gonna go somewhere on a safari. You know, and by the time I keep saying it over and over and over and add to it, I know it over and over. It's locked in. It's locked in. Then I just walk around saying it to myself, and by the time I perform it, it's a wrap.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Sam, a couple questions. First of all, it's just so good to hear you speak. All of the things, you are so articulate. You're a brilliant person. It's just such an honor to be with you here today. And to have you're really brilliant, and you touched me a lot working with you. When you started working in the programming in the prisons, you know, arts and corrections, or through Cal State LA, or whatever, all the things you've done, did you have any expectations going into it? And then secondly, are there any moments or days that stand out to you that were really powerful or transformative for you in doing the work inside?
Dang, those are two awesome questions, right? So as far as expectations, that's a tricky one, because yeah, I did, and no, I didn't. On one hand, I expected that if I did the work, it would be recognized, and I would have certain support from certain people, you know, administration, staff, family, even friends. And that's just quite frankly not the case. That's not the case. Just because I was doing the work and I always thought I was evolving and growing, not everybody celebrated that or supported it. And so that was an expectation that I had to come to grips with. And then on the other hand, I didn't expect any help. You know what I mean? So because I was used to being a loner, so it made me like untrustworthy of a lot of people, especially being a young Black man with these ideas in a prison cell and putting them out there, and people coming inside from outside of prisons, taking my ideas and making entire organizations, people inside the prisons, other prisoners who are in positions, you know what I'm saying, with staff, because they got the jobs, taking your ideas and then making them their own, and not being able to see them develop and be impactful as they can because they weren't really theirs. You know, all of that type of stuff took place. Like the model of rehabilitation we see right now, and I say this in all humility, I'm one of the people who helped usher it in here in California. How many people know that? Not many. You know, my program has been operating inside CDCR since 2014. You know, I laid the foundation for it in 2013. And I started the first parole preparation workshops, inviting attorneys in, mock parole hearings, victim offender mediation seminars that these organizations now got grants for. And they'll tell, I'm the one brought them into the prisons, you know? So it was just challenging for me sometimes to see over the years these people blossom and bloom off these ideas that I have for helping and bringing pro-social activities to people in a carceral setting, and they just forget about me. So that's been challenging, you know, because some of them are like multi-million-dollar organizations now, right? But some of the things that have been really monumental and impactful for me was the very first 10P graduation. Let me back up. AVP was my very first self-help program that I attended. Blew my mind, right? It blew my mind. I was in Ironwood, and I was offered an opportunity to work as a clerk in the program office. Now, at that time, I had all the drugs, I had all the knives, I had all the respect, and I was still criminal-minded, but I was a master manipulator too, and always looking to come up and do more, right? So when they offered me a job to work inside of the program office, I was like, me? Inside the program office? Are you crazy? And I went in because I wanted to try something different. Again, there was that thing inside of me that knew I needed something better than what I had been doing. And stepping out of my comfort zone, which is part of being emotionally literate, vulnerability, stepping out of my comfort zone, I went into the program office and I began to work amongst people from different cultures and backgrounds and you know, professional ideologies that I had never been amongst in intimate settings. And it began to open my mind and just destroy a lot of the stereotypes that I had been handed and socialized and believing as a youth. You know, so it was one of the better decisions that I made. And I met this brother named Green Eyes, And he showed me how to write my first proposal. And he was like, hey, I'm gonna bring a self-help group here because they didn't have no self-help groups. And he said, I'm gonna bring this group here called AVP. I was like, okay, let's do it. So he and I, basically he let me put my name on it, put together this proposal, and we brought AVP to Ironwood. And so we helped develop that whole mecca, that Ironwood that you see, where it became this rehabilitation, that didn't even exist. We started the very first self-help group on the yard and started blowing it up. Then I moved away, then we left, right? But when he brought the group there and I participated in it, man, I had never experienced being emotionally vulnerable with men from different races and ages and crying on each other's shoulders and all the stuff that we were doing. So it blew my mind and it established something in me that I wanted to experience again. So fast forward down the years, a real monumental moment for me was once I got the 10P program started, we had our first graduation in New Folsom, maximum security level 4180. And people's moms and grandmoms and children and daughters were coming up to me saying, thank you for what you're doing for my son. Thank you for helping my son. I'm putting you in charge of watching over my son. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? That was so impactful and fulfilling and humbling to me. Because it was like I had turned the corner from being the person that was helping to tear people down, you know, helping to usher in like drugs and DP people and all the other stuff that I had going on because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing, to actually making a difference in helping folks go home, building stronger family ties, you know, helping people become quality individuals. That was a real turning point for me. And there were so many more, like graduating from Cal State LA. I can go on and on and on. It's 24 years, Liz, but that was one for me right there. The first 10P graduation where I was charged with being responsible for doing the right thing.
So powerful to hear these stories and some of the background to some of the things I know about you already, but hearing your narrative, and it's really awesome. So, you know, you mentioned that you want to do a longitudinal, autoethnographic, phenomenological research. And I was thinking about what are some of the skills that you want to explore in that research? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the goal, so as you mentioned earlier, advocacy for changing the criminal justice system is something that I'm very passionate about. My studies in the carceral setting inform me that most criminal justice legislation always has some type of social justice, no, not social justice, some type of sociological theory at the core of it. All the way back from the Salem witch trials, it was demonology. That was the criminology at the time. It was demonology. It was calling them demons and it was prosecuting. You know, you fast forward all the way to the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, the 94 Crime Bill. Then it was the super predator narrative by Drusillio and Fox, you know, when they were saying that all of these young Black men and young Hispanic men who have been so deprived over the years by generations were now going to produce this generation of kids who are just going to be terrorists and super predators, and we need more prisons. So based on that sociological theory, they move the, you know, American Legislative Exchange Council, really, ALEC. But based on that sociological premise, it moved the government, Joe Biden, you know, Bill Clinton. They ushered in 3 strikes law in like 36 states, gave them grants to build more prisons because all these super predators that were coming. And then in 20 years after destroying all of our families and our lives and our communities for, you know, for laws that place forced labor over rehabilitation, then they say, oh, we debunked the theory of the super predator. We were wrong. That narrative was false, yada, yada, being. You didn't destroy the families, made trillions of dollars, and now you debunk the theory. So to answer your question, upon studying all that, I was like, well, why no one has come with a more benevolent theory, a more benevolent, comprehensive theory that we could use as a sociological premise to build criminological landscape upon. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And it's true. When you factor in adverse childhood experiences, when you factor in epigenetics, when you factor in social ecology, all of these are contributing factors to the human being. No one's born in a vacuum or formed in a vacuum. So the goal is to actually have my theory operationalized. I would like to have it operationalized and placed inside of, communications journals, behavioral science journals, so that we can have it recognized as a real thing, and then take it to the politicians and say, look, the theory of emotional illiteracy-based criminality is a real thing. People adopt criminality as coping mechanisms for unprocessed traumas, and their brains are capable of neurogenesis in the limbic system, which is responsible for the emotional, the emotional center of the brain. So they can be healed through pro-social activities and engagement. And we have plenty of proof, people like myself and so many others. So that's what I want the theory to do. That's the goal.
Thank you.
I need some help with it too.
So I have one more question also on this. Lynn, did you want to ask a question before? Did you have something?
I just want to know how we can help get that going, because that's amazing, and absolutely it should be implemented in so many places. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. So with Dr. Afari being a professor, the IRB, even though I was a part of a vulnerable population, I thought that I was like, hey, I'm part of a vulnerable population. I should be able to go around and collect these narratives and do this study and to be recognized, because I'm not taking advantage of anyone. But I didn't necessarily get clearance from the IRB to have it included as an actual study. Nevertheless, I think that would be one of the first steps, is getting approval, because I still have the surveys, I still have all of the tools. We can revise them, you know what I mean? Make them up, to retrofit them, and start again collecting the data inside and outside. I have all of us, we have access to an army of formerly incarcerated people and currently incarcerated individuals. So it's just a matter of collecting and extracting the right data and then formulating it properly and presenting it, to support the theory, and showing that this is what we need so that we can take a comprehensive approach to how we deal with people who accuse of crimes. So I think the first step would be us setting aside some time to talk about a plan of action to move forward to help operationalize it.
This almost sounds like you're getting a master's or a PhD. Like it sounds like a project that you can get some letters for after your name.
Wow.
I think
you thought about that.
I did.
Okay.
I did. I love how it sounds though, the way you say it.
Yeah, I think that's great. If you can be in a program where this is part of a long-term project that's being funded, and you're taking classes, and that's great. But in fact, let's just also bring it back to this question of drama therapy and performance. How do you see these performance, experiential, expressive arts performances playing a part in this project that you're involved in? Is this something that that you can see yourself continuing? To incorporate not just surveys, but creation of embodied experiences and performances as part of this research project.
Okay, so that sounds like a three-part question. The first one is, I've been, take a quote from the poem. I've been raped, I've been robbed, I've been turned down for a job. But I know, just by embodying stuff like that, I've never been raped. I've definitely been robbed, definitely been turned down for a job. Now, if you want to say I've been mentally raped, you can say stuff like that, but I don't want to disrespect anyone who's been physically violated and actually sexually raped. You know what I mean? But to answer your question, by me getting up and saying stuff like that, it gives someone else the ability and the strength to do it. So I will continue. I would definitely continue to use, the narrative and the art in this form of therapy, because that's how I see it work. I've seen it too many times. Those who didn't have the courage or the will at the time to step up and share theirs or be vulnerable would see me, because they see me as strong. They see me as bold. They see me as tough. You know what I mean? When they see me go out there and talk about being broken down to the smallest compound, but still having this strong elegance and beauty about myself, it encourages others to do the same. That's the feedback that I get. So I'm definitely going to keep doing it, if for no other reason than for that, right? And then the second part, you asked, like, where do I want to go with this sort of?
Yeah, if there's a way that's like, where do you see yourself in a few years from now in developing some of these.
Right on. So recently I dropped like 3 songs as NFTs and they all sold out. So I made $10,000 in like 17 hours on the first one. I made $10,000 in about 15 hours on the second one. Oh, the third one didn't sell out. I'm sorry. It didn't sell out, but it still made like $2,100 in like a couple hours. Right. And so I'm learning about this Web3 space. That's what I've been learning. I've been learning about Web3, NFTs, cryptocurrency, because it's not going anywhere. As much as, you know, because that's what they said about CDs. That's what they said about rap music. That's what they said about the internet and video games. And look, it's evolving and evolving and evolving. That's what we do as human beings. We evolve. And so I'm seeking to take my art to the highest technical, you know, most advanced place that I can, you know, digitally. But I'm also seeking to bring it to the streets. Like I just organized a night on Slauson. And I did something that had never been done before by the grace of God. I combined music with emotional literacy, spoken word poetry, and an open mic. You know, and I have this format about building businesses and everything. And I invited everybody out. And we opened the mic up and we would do spoken word and poetry and we would talk in between about vulnerability and stuff like that. Then we would eat and it was just like amazing. So in addition to bringing it to the digital space, I'm also seeking to bring it to people's face. And then, as you know, or I'm not sure if you know, I'm also part of a group of men, the Inside Circle Foundation. You know, I'm part of All Kings, and we do this type of work. Like my buddy Gethin, he made a movie called The Work. I'm not sure if you all have ever seen The Work, but if you did, you would definitely be responding right now. So I'm sure you haven't. But we've been doing this work for quite some time. And I'm due to come to Sacramento to Folsom in December to go inside to do some more of this work. So it's layers for me, Dr. Afari. It's layers. We could talk about it more and more, man. So actually, I would like to invite you to one of those circles, you know, the men's group.
Yeah.
You would love it.
To come. Yes, I would love to be there. Yeah, let me know. It'd be great.
I will.
Awesome.
Hey, Sam, I saw that you're also going back into, I think it's Lancaster, right? You have a group. Are you still doing that? Can you share a little bit about what you're doing there?
So November 20th, we have a graduation. We have 53 graduates. It's a 6-month program, and we have 53 men graduating on November 20th. Shucks, y'all already cleared into the prison. Y'all should come. That would be awesome. Yeah, you're invited. So the 10P program, like you talked about earlier, I think Marianne broke the alliteration down so awesome. Thank you very much. It's rooted in emotional literacy. And so these guys have studied everything from cell phone addiction, peer pressure, prioritizing, interpersonal communication, developing and setting educational goals, and a host of other things, but all rooted in emotional literacy. And I'm so proud of them. On B facility and A facility, these men have stuck it out, you know, and every time I walk in there, it's humbling because this is the very place that I paroled from. So I walk in and teach the very men in the circle that I was sitting in the circle with when I was incarcerated. I was asked by one of my mentors. I wasn't actually asked. She was introducing me one day, and she said something that I didn't think about. She said, Sam does the work. She said he re-traumatizes himself every week by going back into the prison. And up until the point that she said that, and even like a few weeks afterwards, it really didn't sink in. And I was like, damn, I kind of am re-traumatizing myself every time I go. I mean, I built up this shell and I was going in there really strong, but I felt it was taking a toll. At one point, it was taking a toll, even though I've only been out 18 months. And I had to get ahead of it because I started to realize I was going back, like I'm going back versus I'm going to work. See, I was more like I'm going back to get everybody. I'm going back to save the world. I'm going back to extract everybody versus I'm going back to get to do this job, to run the program. And so while running the program is still in the spirit of helping and saving everybody, I had to get control of that and get grips of it because it was so fresh for me. And I'm the pioneer. No one else is, like you mentioned, Tway, but I came before all of them. All of them are following in my footsteps. I'm paving the way. My program has been here for like a decade doing this. And no one was doing what I won't say no one, but you know, so as the pioneer, especially as a Black man, there was no blueprint for me. Just like when I was on the inside, there was no blueprint for me. So I would take bits and pieces from people as I meet them and I listen and I learn, but I would just have to bump my head against the wall and pray to God like that I can get back up. Like right now, if you look at me, look how thin I am. I lost 50 pounds. I've lost 50 pounds of muscle from stress. You know what I'm saying? I'm just getting over it, just getting through it now. But it's been a long journey. So what the program and Lancaster represents to me is walking what I taught, practicing what I preach, and being accountable, but also evolving and growing. So it represents all of those things to me. And I'm very proud of all of our participants, all of our graduates, and I'm very thankful to everyone who has supported the 10P program and has supported me personally because I didn't get here by myself.
My name is Samuel Nathaniel Brown, and this is called The Theory. And I dedicate it to anyone who's ever gone through something and felt like they were all alone. So I have a theory, and it's called The Theory of Emotional Illiteracy-Based Criminality. The Theory of Emotional Illiteracy-Based Criminality. OMGeezy, are you pizzic and is up with pizzit and dizown? And if sizzo, how in the wizard does that sizzle? For baseline socioeconomic, autoethnographic, cutting-edge criminogenic supposition. I mean, listen, the theory of emotional illiteracy-based criminality, that means before I was an offender, I was a casualty. And I didn't mean to offend you when I casually reenacted the trauma that I silently suffered when I thought the whole world was mad at me, so I was mad at the whole world. As I thought the whole world hated me, so I hated the whole world. As my development stopped, my head twirled, my brain cooked, my blood, bro. What ailed me, I couldn't unfurl, because to talk about it was to be a little girl. That is, according to the road that they attempted to set forth for me through American structural functionalism, you know that ultra masculine, super macho, patrilineal, real men don't cry crap that socialized me to a standstill, premeditated as a planned kill. How my neglected emotions withered and dried like a mandrill that curled, lied, and died in emotional landfill. The stench from which can make any man ill, and not a regular ill, but a grand ill. So damn ill it couldn't be healed by meal and Advil. Had me down on my knees composing prayerful songs to the Messiah like George Handel. Hallelujah.
I'm so proud of you as well too. I see you on Fridays sometimes when I've done evening class, and I see you coming in, and it's so valuable, so important to me to see you coming back. You're one of the only people I know from that entire program that found their way back in within a few weeks, within a few months. You were back and doing continuing the 10P program. It's so important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, Dr. Afari. And that's the sacrifice that most people don't know. They'll judge, they'll speak, they'll say things. But yeah, like you said, I'm the only one that you see. And I came right back immediately. You know what I mean? I helped pave the way, but many people don't know that because I'm like one of the unseen faces. So it means a lot to me that you recognize me. And thank you. You couldn't see me there if you weren't there.
That's right.
That's right.
When you were inside, there was some kind of support, I guess, or you go to class and Cameron would be there. But do you feel supported now that you're out, or are you doing that on your own? Where do you get your support?
That's a great question. So you mentioned Cameron. When you say support, you mean like academic, social, emotional? What kind of support we talking about? Financial?
I guess I was actually, because I'm a drama therapist, I was thinking more your mental health support. Like, you get your chances. You said you were doing some stand-up poetry at a place. And so I guess that's healing for you. That's your medicine. But just having a place to maybe, or do you go to therapy, or do you feel like you're being supported in a mental health kind of way?
Thank you for that. So I've done therapy since I've been home. I did that for about a month and a half, just to be honest. It was cool. but my schedule didn't permit, so I fell off, right? With that said, I just came back from New York attending the men's group that I was talking to Dr. Afari about. And it's like 200 of us out there. And it's all of us men, and we come together and we talk about everything that we're going through, and we deal with it, and we get it off our chest. And it's very, very cathartic, super, and it's something that we need more of. So that's one thing that I do. And then every Monday, we have an emotional literacy workshop that I attend, with Aim for the Heart, my fiscal sponsor and partner. Well, we do art and emotional literacy every Monday. So that's good for me. It's a whole community of us. Then I have my people that I talk to, my family, my friends, and I still do the art. So thank you. That's a great question.
Okay.
Hey, so I think, are there any closing remarks that anybody would like to offer? Thank you again, everyone, for being here today. We've been talking for about 45 minutes, and so I think we're going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. So any thoughts, closing remarks?
So I would like to say the bill that you mentioned earlier that I wrote while I was incarcerated, ACA 3, the End Slavery in California Act, has now changed to ACA 8. And it's, went from the California Abolition Act to the End Slavery in California Act is what it is now called. And it's carried by Congressional Black Caucus Chair. There it is, Congressional Black Caucus Chair, Lori Wilson. She's now carried, and she's the chair of the California Black Caucus. And so it has a lot of support. We've passed through the Assembly unanimously. Well, not unanimously. We dropped like 68-4 votes. Last time we passed through the Assembly unanimously. But now we're back in the Senate, and we're seeking to come off the Senate floor, this go around, so we can get it before the voters. So I just wanted to say, when you see the End Slavery in California Act on the ballot, please vote yes. You know what I'm saying? So we can end slavery in California once and for all. And feel free to call your local senator right now and tell them that you want to see it on the ballot, that you support it, because we need this to be like pop culture. We need as many people as possible supporting this legislation. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And then if anyone is interested in volunteering for the 10P program or coming in or helping out, always looking for pro-social partnerships, opportunities, and ways to expand opportunities for the individuals in the program, inside and outside. Please feel free to contact me. You can reach me at learnabout10p@gmail.com. learnabout10p@gmail.com. And thank you all for having me, Dr. Afari and Liz and Marianne and the other Liz, right? 2 Liz's, right?
Lynn.
Lynn, oh, okay.
Lynn.
Liz, Lynn, Marianne, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
so much.
Yes.
Thank you. This has just been really great talking to you. I'm so happy we had this opportunity. We've waited too long. I hope we can, have a part 2 and do some follow-up on some of the conversation today as well too. And I'll definitely look forward to talking with you, meeting with you in person soon, and also extending whatever support I can provide as well too. So thanks so much, Sam.
Wow, please and thank you. I look forward to following up with you all.
Thanks, Sam. I know in the future when I have a little more time, we'll be seeing you more. Yeah, but I really appreciate it. And you're someone I've shared with my family, with my friends extensively, your work. So you're on our hearts and minds.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. You have no idea. I almost cried just seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
All right, peace and blessings, y'all.